All right, so we're gonna move on. I mean, I'm very happy. I'm very excited. For this conversation, we're gonna get some good knowledge on the five top quarterbacks in the draft. And I know from a 49er standpoint, two of them are going to be irrelevant, but the other three are very important. So this is going to be a very good learning chance for people who want to know what these quarterbacks are, what they're like. Jason and Vish both watch an insane amount on these quarterbacks. So I'm excited because I'm going to learn some stuff too. That's why I am staying out of it, and I'm going to let them explain what's amazing about all these quarterbacks. And I'm also very excited because this is probably one of the last times we're going to talk about quarterbacks because we only have a couple episodes left before the draft. So Vish, we're going to start with you and take player comp however you want, kind of explain what you take it as and how you're comparing them. I know there's multiple ways we can compare them. So we're going to start with the consensus number one pick since there's five quarterbacks. I know the Niners aren't going to be worried about Trevor Lawrence, but to help, people learn about the draft, if they don't know it, they're coming to us for it. Who is your player comp? First of all, your definition of player comp, and then start with Trevor Lawrence.
So player comp itself, I think, is one of the hardest exercises to do in sports because I think there is a uniqueness to every player. I think football is the sport that we kind of really ride the player comp thing the most. And I think the toughest thing about player comps is that there might be a certain thing about someone that reminds you of somebody, but it's about explaining it. Like if you look at, let's say, the Brandon Ayuk Odell comp from last year, like it's not a one-to-one comp, right? Yeah. The comp is that we're talking about two freakish athletes who both have insanely large catch radiuses in spite being 5'11", 6 feet guys. That's what we're talking about. But it's not like an exact comp in terms of exactly how they move or their fluidity. It's a little different with both players. So I kind of took it in the sense that, like, what does that player stylistically, who do they kind of remind me of? And then, or just physically who they kind of remind me of. I'm kind of all over the place. There's a different comp for each one. It's in a different way, but I kind of just had fun with it because Jason texted me yesterday and he's like, we're going to do player comps. And I was like, oh, crap. I don't even know what I would comp half these guys to.
Me too.
So to start off with Trevor Lawrence, to me, I'm going to go easy. I think the comp is just Justin Herbert from last year. Now, there's differences. I think Herbert has a stronger arm. Maybe. I think Herbert's a more pure thrower. But I think Lawrence is quicker. I think Lawrence is faster. I think Lawrence has better feet. And I think at least Herbert coming out of college, what people assumed of Herbert, I've watched a bit more Lawrence than I did Herbert. I think Lawrence is the better processor. I mean, that's what people say. I can't be sure. I know Lawrence is a pretty good processor. I didn't watch Herbert that much coming out of college other than on live TV. And all I saw was that he had a cannon. So that's about it. I did watch him a lot with the Chargers, and he was fantastic. But I think that's the best comp. We're talking about 2 6'6" guys that throw the ball really pure. For 6'6" guys, I think Herbert's a bit more pure, very athletic, smart, tough. They're really everything you're looking for. I think Lawrence has better feet, even in the pocket, in terms of navigating tight spaces than Herbert. But again, Herbert is a more pure thrower than Lawrence, in my opinion.
All right. Yeah, I like that one. That one makes sense. I think they both feature some same traits. I was higher on Herbert than I was Tua, so I like that comp because I don't know, just selfish reasons. Jason, what are you defining player comp as? Are you defining him as a ceiling or what he looks like out of college? And then who's your comp for Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, so each player is going to come down to what I see right now and what I think he can be. So there's some things that I see right now that doesn't necessarily mean what they're going to be, and each player will have their own explanation when we talk about it. When it comes to Trevor Lawrence, if Vish thought he was taking the easy way out, hold my beer and allow me to take the easy way out and just say that Trevor Lawrence reminds me of Andrew Luck, very much so. And what he does, what happens there is more about him being able to lift the team and him being able to, I don't think people understand that if he wasn't there, Clemson probably wouldn't be anything. And I know that's saying nothing really because, everybody needs a quarterback. But I think that Trevor Lawrence gets overlooked for what he did for that team in a way that Andrew Luck turned a 4-win team, in Indianapolis. I'm not saying he's going to be able to do that in Jacksonville. I'm just saying that he's capable of doing those things to turning them into like a 12-win team, 13-win team. So I'm going to take the super easy way out. Go ahead, Vish.
I'm going to say right now, they will turn it around in Trevor Lawrence's first year. That team is actually pretty stacked. They have 5 picks in the top 100. They have 2 promising edge rushers in Josh Allen, K'Lavon Chaisson. Miles Jack just was phenomenal last year. I like CJ Henderson's talent. DJ Chark, if anybody plays fantasy, go pick up DJ Chark tomorrow.
Try
He's going to break out next year.
Yeah.
He is an unbelievable wide receiver. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be very good next year.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, I mean, that just, helps my point more than anything. But what I really mean is that Andrew Luck really, honestly, can lift, things up. And he was for a long time. That organization went from literally the bottom to a 10, 11, 12 win team. That's what I see when I see Trevor Lawrence. I just see a little bit more mobility, but I just see a guy who's able to lift things up around him. And, like I said, I'm going to take the super easy way out when it comes to Trevor Lawrence and just say Andrew Luck because that's the one that pops right into my head. But again, the 49ers have no shot at Trevor Lawrence. So
I think we had a first there. That was the first time we've ever had anybody raise their hand to talk. And I like the order. I really appreciate he's trying to keep it smooth. I love it. Vish, you don't have to raise your hand. I'll call on you this time. Let's go.
Oh, perfect.
We're going to move on from the consensus number 1 pick. We don't need to spend much time on Trevor Lawrence. He's not in 49er world. We're going to move on to the consensus, probably number 2 pick, and Zach Wilson, probably going to the Jets. But Vish, who is your comparison for Zach Wilson?
So Zach Wilson's a hard guy to comp because there's a lot of different people that he reminds you of. First off, I would say in terms of his play style, I see the Aaron Rodgers comparison, and that's solely the play style in terms of the off-platform ability, the fact that he often throws without his feet set, just the easy power he generates from just flipping his hips and ripping the ball, the super quick release, all the arm angles, I see it. But I don't think he's as gifted as Aaron Rodgers physically. I think his arm isn't as strong, though it's really strong. I think Aaron Rodgers hit a tier that in terms of arm strength. And then in terms of I think he's more explosive than Aaron Rodgers in terms of his first step. But I think Aaron Rodgers was a little more make you miss savvy, where sometimes Zach Wilson just kind of runs into hits and stuff when he runs and stuff. I think Aaron Rodgers had this kind of, especially 2011, 2012 Aaron Rodgers, you couldn't touch it. He had a really magical way of navigating around tight spaces. I don't think Zach Wilson has that. So that's the Aaron Rodgers comp. Physically, I've seen this comp before. I would like to say that I was one of the first people to say it, but I didn't really say it to anybody or in any platform other than private phone calls. But I think the physical best comp is Derek Carr in terms of arm talent, so just their actual ability. Though I think, again, Zach Wilson's a more explosive athlete than Derek Carr. I think the arm is about the same. If Aaron Rodgers is an A+ arm, they're A- arms. So that's where I would bring up the Derek Carr. And then again, Derek Carr is a very quick release. Zach Wilson, very quick release. And then I'm still kind of looking for that third comp because I think there's an added element to Zach Wilson's game that I don't really know what to comp it to, but there's this explosiveness to Zach Wilson. As an athlete, I think he's been kind of, because Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Trey Lance are all A+ when it comes to physical attributes, when you go down athleticism and everything. I think Zach Wilson's athleticism is getting underrated. He's a really explosive athlete and he's really twitchy and he can really move quickly. So I don't know the exact comp. I've seen people say Kyler. He's nowhere near that explosive. That's a different tier, but he is a very explosive athlete. I haven't decided on the comp yet, but there's one more guy in there that he's mixed of. So he's if Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, and some other twitchy athlete had a baby, you would get Zach Wilson.
Would you, with the Carr comparison, because one of the things I like about Carr is he has pretty good mobility within the pocket. He always seems to know where he's at in the pocket and where to move around. Do you see that in Wilson as well, or is it just more of a physical comp for Carr to Wilson?
I see it a little bit with Wilson. The thing with Wilson is that if you're being honest to God and objective, it's tough to evaluate Zach Wilson's actual ability navigating the pocket because the pocket is just vast for him. BYU's offensive line was just destroying people, and there were other quarterbacks in this draft who also benefited from great protection, but Zach Wilson did as well. And so and so it's really hard to say if he moves within the pocket as well as Carr. I think in terms of just the pure arm talent, in terms of just the strength of the arm, I feel like Derek Carr is the closest. Because Derek Carr has a really, really live and strong arm. Just nobody talks about it.
Yeah, Derek Carr is one of those quarterbacks that I feel like he gets lost in the shuffle a lot, and maybe it just has to do with the Raiders being the Raiders. I think if you put Derek Carr on, and this isn't a shot at the Raiders, so please don't come at me for it. But if you put him on a franchise that feels like they're more competent than giving a head coach a 10-year, $100 million deal. Derek Carr is probably a little more well-known. So yeah, I like that comparison. Jason, who do you have?
Well,
Zach Wilson.
Andrew, I'll actually do you one better, and I will take the shot at the Raiders. First of all, Derek Carr is I think he's been underrated, one, because of his corny personality, and two, because John Gruden and Mike Mayock seem to think that every year, we're gonna go for Marcus Mariota, we're gonna get Kyler Murray. What the hell are you talking about? Derek Carr is a better quarterback right now than John Gruden is a head coach. I think that needs to be stated. If you're ranking the 32 quarterbacks, Derek Carr will be higher on that list than John Gruden would be if you're ranking the 32 head coaches. So Derek Carr really should be thinking about the new head coach. John Gruden shouldn't be thinking about a new quarterback. That's what I will say about that. And then I'll say one more thing, because I'm fired up, and this is the Sprint Right Option podcast. It's an honor to be on. The Niners would have won a Super Bowl with Derek Carr in 2019.
I haven't said that publicly. I haven't said it publicly because I don't have the balls like Vish, but I don't disagree. Before we get yelled at too much in the comments, Jason, who's your Zach Wilson comparison?
Hey, Vish, well done eviscerating John Gruden also, by the way. And if we wanted to throw shots at the Raiders, we didn't really have to go too far. Recent things. Yeah, just go to their last tweet. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to get yelled at. The Aaron Rodgers thing is what I was going to get ready to come here and tell you, because I see it. The same motion, I see it. Same thing you're talking about. Off platform, these throws, they're majestic. You're absolutely right, though. Zach Wilson doesn't have the arm Aaron Rodgers has. I'll tell you what I see. It's going to get me killed. I see Baker Mayfield with a better arm. And I'm talking about the way that he moves and he navigates a little bit, and I think that that's a little bit lost as well, too. I think that just because what's happened with Baker Mayfield and because he was drafted number 1 has kind of taken the shine off of him, and even as well as he's performed this year. But I see a lot of Zach Wilson in him in the way that he plays and his play style, where, the bigger plays are there. They make them, he's much more mild-mannered than Baker. I'm not talking about those things. I just see him as the way he, sometimes when I look at him and I see the throws, I'm like, there's Rodgers. Like, look at that throwing motion. It's the same thing. Sometimes when I see him navigate the pocket and make moves, and throw the ball downfield, I see Baker as well. So I see Baker with a much better arm. And I see, obviously, Baker with a higher ceiling. I'm not trying to downplay Zach Wilson in any way, but that's just what I see. The Aaron Rodgers stuff is there, but it's not consistent enough for me to just straight up across the board call him baby Aaron Rodgers or baby Patrick Mahomes, because I think that's too much. That's a little bit too far. It's not consistent enough, right? Those throws that are there, they're nice, but JT O'Sullivan just did one of his videos, and I think it was What I've Been Missing about Zach Wilson, and he showed a bunch of positive plays, but he also showed that in those positive plays, he misreads. Wide open reads. And that's something that's there as well. I'm not trying to knock him down or anything like that, but I'm just trying to tell you that every quarterback isn't perfect. So when I look at him and I see him with his athletic ability, obviously he's a better runner than Baker. We're not talking about that either. He's much faster. He's twitchier. But I just see a little bit of Baker in him with a much better arm. And then I see those Rodgers throws that you're talking about. So this one was one of the easier ones to get to. But people aren't going to like the Baker Mayfield comp because they think that that's a knock. And it's not a knock. I'm just saying that I see the way that he plays just like Baker. And he's got a better arm than Baker. And we all kind of know that.
Go ahead, my bad.
Well, just to touch on Jason's point too, that they're not going to like the Baker, comp. My thing is with these comps is we're not saying that Zach Wilson's going to become Baker Mayfield. It's just coming out of college, Zach Wilson reminds you of Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield was a damn good college player. So I see it more as a compliment than anything else, because Baker Mayfield won a Heisman, or I think he did, right? Yeah, Baker won a Heisman. So that's my thing. Vish, go ahead, say your thing.
Baker Mayfield, prior to Kyler Murray, prior to Joe Burrow, prior to Mac Jones, had the greatest statistical quarterback season we've ever seen. And then Kyler had a better season, then Joe Burrow had a better season. Now Mac Jones had a better season. The one thing I will say, because I see the Baker thing, I don't even know what it is, because he's Baker has a pretty explosive arm too, but it's just something about the two of them. It's the way they go about it. It's just something about them, especially Baker in Oklahoma, with that I think it's the confidence, but you see the Baker and the headband, and it really kind of slaps you in the face. The one difference I would say with Baker Mayfield, and the reason I went away from that comp is, so for example, the BYU offense, they run a lot of mesh wheel. And the difference I think between Baker Mayfield and Zach Wilson is that Zach Wilson passes up a lot of middle of the field crossing route throws. A lot of other people have mentioned this. A lot of people have written articles about this, but it's there on film too. He passes up a lot of throws over the middle of the field. And the one discerning quality to me about Baker Mayfield when he came out of college was I don't think there's ever been as good a middle of the field quarterback as Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma. And I think that's part of the reason why he went number 1 overall, because Philly had just won the Super Bowl with the RPO, and Baker Mayfield was the RPO king in Oklahoma. So that would be the one thing that made me stay away. But I actually think Baker's a great comp, and I don't think it's a knock at all.
Yeah, I was also gonna add, as a headband guy myself, I like the Zach Wilson Baker Mayfield comp. Big headband guy. We got to stick
big
together.
Headband guy.
So there's the first 2 picks of the draft. So now we're gonna get into the territory of, hey, who has the 3rd pick? That team we talk about a lot. So these are the ones that we're gonna dive into. I'm gonna keep the people waiting because I think they're excited to hear the comp for a certain quarterback out of Ohio State.
You want to leave him last?
Yeah, I'm going to leave him last. We're going to make the people stay. We're going to make them listen. We're going to start with North Dakota State, Trey Lance. Vish, who is your
I can't wait for this one
comparison?
Yeah,
I can't wait for this one.
This is the hardest quarterback to me to comp
Easily.
because usually when you get a guy that big, right, you're immediately thinking Big Ben, right? That's the easy cop-out comp. But then you think Big Ben, and he's a way more fluid athlete than Big Ben. And then you usually think a guy this yoked up, you're thinking like a tighter throwing motion, but this guy is so loose and so natural. And then you're looking at his running ability. Can I comp his running ability to Cam Newton? He's got the same body, all of that. And then you really can't comp him to Cam Newton because he's a way more fluid runner. He's so elusive. So I actually landed on the perfect comparison. And I was really Googling it and finding it. I don't think there is really a good comparison for Trey Lance, but I think Steve McNair really, really takes the cake. I think that Steve McNair is probably the one guy I found online where I was like, oh, yeah, he does remind me of Steve McNair. And Steve McNair was a hell of a player. I think he would have been even better in this era. I think he's one of those guys where I just think he didn't get truly appreciated, you know? He had a co-MVP with Peyton Manning. He was a really, really good player. I think he also had, like Trey Lance, a really, really strong body, really elusive runner, really strong arm. I think that Steve Lance is probably the best comp. And someone brought up Randall Cunningham. I actually considered Randall Cunningham. The big difference to me is I just thought, 1, Cunningham was just a leaner athlete, and 2, I think Cunningham had a little more make you miss and was just more fluid as a runner. I actually saw, in terms of Cunningham, I saw a lot of what RG3 was early in his career. To me, the comp was Randall Cunningham for RG3.
Does Trey Lance have the punting ability of Randall Cunningham?
That was epic.
He has like a 90-yard punt, right? It was like one of those little shotgun pooch punt
Mm-hmm.
things, and it just rolled. Jason, who is your Trey Lance comparison? You're a little giddy. I see you over there.
It's tough, man, honestly, because it's so easy and so lazy to say Josh Allen with less experience or say Colin Kaepernick because of how he runs. So I see a little cap. But here's the comp that's really going to raise Vish Kumaran's eyebrows. Ready?
I'm ready.
I see Ryan Tannehill. Now, same build, same height, same body type, plus athlete, great off play action. I see somebody who, this is not me saying that Trey Lance's ceiling is Ryan Tannehill. What I'm trying to tell you is that I think Trey Lance is Ryan Tannehill, like first year Titans, like Ryan Tannehill, like that. His ceiling is much higher than that. But what I see is a guy who can run just like Ryan Tannehill could because he was a plus athlete. Remember, converted from wide receiver over, amazing with play action and hitting those throws down the field. I think Ryan Tannehill doesn't get enough credit for the throws that he can make. You know, and look at Vish's face. Yep, absolutely. So I see all of those things. It's just so easy and so lazy right now to just say Cap, Josh Allen, whoever else. For me, when I look at him, I think people get lost in the sauce that Ryan Tannehill is a giant man, just like Trey Lance was. And I don't think that you guys remember all of that, right? So I'm not trying to say, again, that Trey Lance's ceiling is Ryan Tannehill. I'm trying to say that what his game reminds me of right now is Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee with higher rushing ability. Clearly, he's a better runner of the football, but they're both plus athletes. I see a lot of it when I watch them play, and that's not a bad comp at all for Trey Lance, especially day one coming into the league. Vish, talk to me. I know you're ready to go.
I actually think that's a great comp. First of all, I don't even think you should put the ceiling thing on there. Ryan Tannehill is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. So if Ryan Tannehill is your ceiling,
tell them the list.
You have a really good quarterback, okay? So that's one thing. And two, in terms of offensive fit, like I totally understand why the Atlanta Falcons for the longest time throughout this draft process were allegedly smitten with Trey Lance. Arthur Smith ran an offense for the past 2 years with who as his quarterback? Ryan Tannehill. So I think the fit is seamless. And three, I think that you mentioned it. I think he's just less exciting than Trey Lance because Trey Lance has a bit more juice. But honestly, I feel like one, Tannehill's arm hasn't gotten enough credit. Two, Tannehill's raw athleticism hasn't gotten enough credit. And three, I would say the thing with Ryan Tannehill, and I'm actually going to use him as a comp for another quarterback in this draft in terms of play style. But I think the thing with Tannehill is that, and I think even he separates himself a bit from Lance, is that Tannehill is an unbelievable down the field thrower. Like the Tennessee Titans don't throw a lot of short passes. It's run with King Henry, and then they're going down the field, and Tannehill's ripping crossers to A.J. Brown and Corey Davis in stride. So Tannehill is a really, really good comp.
Keith, we appreciate the donation. And
yes, Keith, thank you. Appreciate that. I just don't want to stop people from talking, but thank you for the donations. I appreciate you as much.
And Keith agreed with Vish's Trey Lance, Steve McNair comp. And that's the thing I like about these conversations, Jason, because I never thought Trey Lance as Ryan Tannehill. That's just not on my. As I said, I'm not very good at these comps, but now the way you explain it, the way you said it, it's like, you know what? Yeah, I see it. I like it. A+ comp. I'm just gonna like.
Oh, there you go. See,
that's my favorite comp so far.
That's not. I don't think that's my hottest one yet, though. So let's keep going.
Okay, we are gonna go to everybody's. You know, he's very polarizing on 49ers Twitter already, and he's not even a 49er yet. We're going to talk a little McCorkle Jones, Mac Jones out of Alabama. Vish, who is your comp?
Yeah, so this is the one that I'm actually going to get pushback for. And it's because when I say the comp, you're going to say, oh, you can't take that player at number 3. No way, no way, no way. And that's where I want to say, well, the comp isn't what he's going to be. The comp isn't how talented he is. It's just stylistically and physically who he reminds me of. And I think the perfect comp for Mac Jones is Andy Dalton. And I think the reality of it is that we've put lofty comparisons for all of these quarterbacks, but they're probably not going to live up to those comparisons. So again, it's just a stylistic comparison. And I think the stylistic comparison is Andy Dalton, especially 2015 Andy Dalton when he had AJ Green and Marvin Jones and Mo Sanu. If you want to go see what Andy Dalton did, he was an MVP candidate that year. And so don't hate on the Andy Dalton pick, but that's really who he reminds me of. And I think he's actually a bit more accurate than Andy Dalton. I know I've seen some people question his placement. I personally thought his placement was really good. I think his processing sometimes gets a little overstated because, he does quickly decipher what the defense is doing and throw, understanding defensive backs leverage, understanding safety rotations and throw. But a lot of his throws are kind of pre-processed in the sense that he does throw a lot of RPOs and there are a lot of screens. So there's not a lot of reading going on there because the offense is so good. But he was a phenomenal executor within that offense. I think his arm strength is similar to Andy Dalton. I think his body is really similar to Andy Dalton, actually. It might be the puffed out shoulder pads, but Andy Dalton's a pretty well put together guy, and Mac Jones is reasonably well put together. I think he's actually more athletic than Andy Dalton, but I think that's probably the best comp. I've seen a little bit of Eli Manning. I just think Eli Manning had a stronger arm and was just much less athletic than Mac Jones. So to me, Andy Dalton's the best comp. And one thing I did want to say about Andy Dalton's career and just quarterbacks in general, I'm going to take a mini tangent here. So please, if you get upset with me, then I'm sorry. But here's the thing. Okay, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I think our opinions of what a good quarterback is at this point have become kind of I don't think we know. Because oftentimes we judge these quarterbacks after 1 to 2 years in their career, and these phenomenal athletes are fantastic in 1 to 2 years of their career. But the reality of the situation is you don't want Carson Wentz. The Eagles hit on Carson Wentz. He was an MVP candidate. You don't draft a guy number 2 overall to start 4 years for you and then go to another team. He better start for you for 10 years. And that's one thing about Andy Dalton. I want to say that for the Cincinnati Bengals, Andy Dalton started for 7 or 8 straight years. He was their starter for 16 games. That's an impressive feat in the NFL. And if you draft a guy, if the Niners draft Mac Jones and he's able to start 8 years for them, even if he never lives up to the billing of the number 3 overall pick or what they traded up for him, he is still a successful football player because starting 7, 8 years as a quarterback in the NFL is extremely hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that's the thing people forget, like with Dalton, just because he's several years removed from how, his peak. He took a Bengals franchise that was historically pretty bad. Carson Palmer comes through, has a couple years of success, and the Bengals just kind of fall back into irrelevance. Andy Dalton gets drafted, and you could pencil them in for that Saturday morning ESPN playoff game every year. And that's what Andy Dalton did. And yeah, he didn't win a Super Bowl. He didn't have much playoff success, but you can't tell me that Andy Dalton wasn't a successful NFL player. And I think that's what the Niners want. Yes, Mac Jones isn't the sexiest pick at 3, but if you get a guy who starts 8 years and gets you consistently in the playoffs, yeah, maybe not worth the 3rd pick, but you can't make an argument and say the Niners made a bad pick. I mean, and obviously that changes if like they skip on Fields and Fields goes on to be something amazing. Yeah, you can criticize that and say, yeah, you missed out on Fields, but you can't say Mac Jones by itself was a bad pick.
Here's my question, okay? And this is the question I'll ask for anybody who's doubting Mac Jones. And then, Jason, I'm sorry, you need to give your Mac Jones comp.
No.
Here's my thing, okay? Like, Jason, we've talked off air before. You know how much I love Kyler Murray. Like, I love Kyler Murray. Here's the thing. There's some things with Kyler Murray about winning in the pocket where if he doesn't improve those things, Kyler Murray is so exciting right now. He just won Rookie of the Year. He's a hands-down slam dunk great pick for the Arizona Cardinals. 2 or 3 years from now, I don't know if we'll be looking at it the same way because there might be limitations to his game that get exposed. And where I think with Mac Jones, where he would be a good pick is that, like, yeah, Justin Fields and Trey Lance, because of their raw athleticism, they might succeed year 1 and year 2 and be better than Mac Jones. I have no doubt about that. I think Mac Jones, even though I think he's the most pro-ready in terms of being able to consume an NFL offense, in terms of being successful right away, I think he's going to have the least success because if you see a look you don't know on defense, guess what Mac Jones is going to have to do to learn it? He's going to have to throw an interception because he can't run out of it. He can't make a second reaction play. So the idea is that you hope that Fields and Lance, just turn into, or I would say more so Lance, because I really think Fields is really good from the pocket, but you would hope they turn into Watson and Mahomes, right? Where that development just happens naturally. And by year 3, they're phenomenal in the pocket. They're phenomenal outside of the pocket. But the thing is that it doesn't always happen. You look at guys like Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Andy Dalton. These guys have started 7 to 8 years in the NFL consistently, 16 games by winning from the pocket and doing that consistently. So like Mac Jones, it might not be good, year 1 and year 2, and Justin Fields might be great. But 8 years from now, you might look at it and say, wow, Mac Jones started 8 years in the NFL and he had a solid career from the pocket. And Justin Fields was so good for this short period of time. Well, I don't think that. Or Trey Lance was so good for this short period of time. And I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm just saying that. And their careers didn't end up that way. So I'm kind of at a point where as much as I love the Kyler Murrays and all of that, and I think they're better, obviously, than Kirk Cousins, maybe not Ryan Tannehill, but better than Kirk Cousins, I think he is, and I think he's better than Derek Carr. It's where I'd like to before I make judgments on their careers, I'd like to wait 5-6 years because quarterback development isn't happening in this league. Yeah. And that's why Ryan Tannehill is going on a second team, and we're like, whoa, Ryan Tannehill's amazing. Yeah, he started 8 years in the league. The game slowed down for him.
Yeah, and I like what you say with him being pro ready. My thing with him is out of the 3 guys the Niners can get, I definitely think that Mac has the highest floor, but he has the lowest ceiling. I think the other 2, they can knock it out of the park. Mac is just the safe pick, and I like him at 12, not at 3. Hey, Jason, who's your comp for Mac Jones?
So I was looking at his film and I was thinking, okay, who does he remind me of? And I saw who he reminded me of, and I was like, you know what, Jason, you're not right. That can't be right. But I want to read you this player and his comp and his draft profile. Okay. Yeah. Accuracy, can put the ball into tight windows, even though he doesn't have the best zip on his passes. This person showed elite accuracy as a sophomore when he won the Heisman Trophy. Completed 67.6% of his passes during his career. Cool. Arm strength. Person's arm strength is good enough. He can't bomb passes like Jamarcus Russell, but it's good enough to complete deep outs. This person's arm is best suited for a West Coast scheme, but that's not to say he should exclusively play in that scheme. Decision-making. Elite decision-maker. Rarely threw the ball into bad coverage. Does a really nice job anticipating routes and throwing it into the receiver's stride. Mechanics. Delivery is slightly similar of that of Phillip Rivers. That's not true. It's a little higher, but this person looks like he likes to push the ball. Pocket awareness, does a great job of feeling the blitz coming in on him, tends to keep his feet planted, and doesn't dance around in the pocket. Size, optimal height, Final word, person's draft stock is going to ride on how well he tests during workouts. Do you guys want to know what player that is and how I got to that conclusion? The player's name is Sam Bradford. Don't go crazy. Listen to that and tell me that I didn't just read you Mac Jones' scouting report.
Yeah.
No, that was an unbelievable comp. That was a great comp.
Tell me I didn't just read Mac Jones' scouting report. I should have started it by reading that scouting report first, so you think I'm talking about Mac. But I see Sam Bradford, and that's not a knock on Mac Jones because Sam Bradford was a completion percentage king. Do you understand? In the middle of the field, all those same things apply to Mac Jones that he just said about Sam Bradford. It's the same thing. But is Sam Bradford worth pick number 3? In hindsight, now that we know everything after he went pick 1? No. So, what did I see? I was like, hey, man, he kind of looks like Sam Bradford. So I was like, let me just look up his profile. His profile is exactly the same thing. It's nothing different. Yeah, if I did that before Mac Jones and we knew we were talking about Mac Jones, you would have said, stop reading Mac Jones' scouting report. That's the comp for me. Now y'all can yell at me in the comments.
No, that's a great comp.
I'll let Vish talk about it, but you were listing the first few things, and I'm like, is he talking about Jameis? Is he talking about Jameis? And then you said elite decision making on the field. I'm like, oh, he's not talking about Jameis. Vish, what do you think about the Bradford comp?
I thought it was a good comp. I really, really did think it was a good comp. Bradford, I actually think Bradford was an okay player. Like, I think injuries really, really got to his career. But if you remember, that Rams team was terrible. And his rookie of the year, I think he won rookie of the year. And they went down to that final week on which terrible team could get into the playoffs, the Beastquake Seahawks or the rookie Sam Bradford Rams. And he looked like a real promising player. I think that's a great comp. I would say I think that's a really good comp, actually. I like it a lot. And Sam Bradford's team in Oklahoma, if you remember the 2010 draft, Jay, the first 4 picks, how did they go? Sam Bradford went 1, and Ndamukong Suh went 2, Gerald McCoy from Oklahoma went 3, and Trent Williams from Oklahoma went 4. So he played on a loaded team in Oklahoma.